I'll just go back. I've obviously just forgotten it at the shop. So the next day, I drove back to the shop, and as luck would have it, the same man was working. And I explained what happened, and he's like, no problem. I just have to check the security footage so that I can give the timestamp to my boss so that I can explain why I've given you this tub. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So he goes, and he was gone for a while. And he came back, and he was really looking embarrassed. And he said, I'm sorry. We have footage of you leaving, carrying the tub. So to be clear, I lost a 35-liter tub between the door of the shop and the car, okay? So this is one of the ways that ADHD affects me. And this is funny, but living a life in which you are trying so hard not to make mistakes and mess up times and get things wrong is exhausting. I've always been a reader and a writer. I've got an honors degree in English and a master's degree in education. These are facts about me. Another fact about me is that I cried over my math homework almost every night as a kid. I never learned my times tables, and in fact, I failed math in grade 12. My mom was a principal, and my parents were both very supportive, and when I needed to remember something, my mom found a way to help me do it. So multiple choice tests were an exquisite nightmare, but I've always been able to see connections in literature. Another thing that really helped me is an ability to kind of look at a job that needs to be done and decide exactly how much work I need to do to get the result that I want, and then I will do that much work and no more. So in other words, I had strategies that allowed me to be successful, particularly in postgraduate education. When I finished university, I went to teachers college and I became an English teacher. And I've taught lots of kids with ADHD. And I was always really happy to support them in whatever way they needed. The problem is, when I was teaching, my understanding of ADHD was so limited. Right? My teacher training taught me that students with ADHD might need to have information chunked so that they can understand it, that they might be, it might take them longer to do things, or they might be hyper. So to give them breaks or let them go for walks or let them play with a fidget toy, right? That if they took medication, they'd be able to focus like a normal student. But the thing is, ADHD is not just about focus. It's about our ability to regulate our brain so that we can get things done. This is a skill called executive function. And what I didn't realize is that those kids that I was teaching, because of their ADHD, they may have been overwhelmed and underwhelmed, overstimulated and understimulated. Their working memory might have been affected. They may have been super sensitive to criticism and rejection. They may have had trouble starting, finishing, and organizing tasks. All of these things are things that we do with our executive function. We all have difficulties with executive function, but those difficulties are much more numerous and more severe in people with ADHD. The other thing I learned is about 5 to 8% of the Australian population has ADHD. That's about 814,500 people. We do not grow out of it, and yet only about 1 in 10 adults with ADHD are getting treatment.